I wanted to take a second to talk about Donald Trump's new rally going on in Tulsa, Oklahoma on June 19th and the significance of that day in that city. Because first off, most of you love to talk about how everything that the government does is very deliberate, that there's always some kind of conspiracy behind it, whatever. But apparently if it's Donald Trump doing it, then there is no conspiracy and it's not deliberate, even though he's a genius and he knows everything that he's doing. I don't know. You guys contradict yourself every day. But anyways, Tulsa, Oklahoma was known as the Black Wall Street. And in 1921, there was a race riot. A young black male was accused of assaulting a young white female. He was taken into custody, and all the white people started gathering so that they could lynch him in the street. And this was before he was ever proven guilty of anything. They were just like, oh, this black kid raped this white girl, I don't know if you guys are caught up on any of the racial history, but that was a very common thing for white people to lie about just to be able to lynch a black person. So anyways, this is the wealthiest black city in the United States at the time, keep in mind. So these were black people that had made something of themselves after slavery, and even through Jim Crow and all the other stuff that was still holding them down. They picked themselves up by their bootstraps, like you guys like to say, and they successfully made a wealthy city, had their own businesses, had their own money, and this race riot happened, and that entire city got destroyed. So all that hard work, and it was burned down and looted by white people. So all you people talking about, well, if you don't like something, you should peacefully protest. You shouldn't burn businesses and you shouldn't loot stores. This is a perfect example of that. Look up Tulsa, Oklahoma, 1921. Or the Black Wall Street Massacre. So June 19th was significant because it was the day that the last Confederate state was read the Emancipation Proclamation. That was Texas. And so that day is celebrated as their Liberation Day, essentially. And they call it Juneteenth. And I mean, if you haven't heard of it, I don't know, maybe you need to have more friends that aren't white, because I see it all over social media every year around June 19th. People start posting it. So anyways, Donald Trump decided that he's going to start his rallies back, and he's going to do it on June 19th in Tulsa, Oklahoma, during the middle of civil unrest about racial issues in the United States. And I've seen people that are like, oh, how are you just going to assume that, he did it because he wants to stir up more trouble or because he's a racist or this or that. Like I said at the beginning of this video, first off, everything the government does is deliberate. And if you believe that Donald Trump is this great businessman and smart guy that has everything planned out, then you should also think that it is deliberate for some reason. Also, campaigns in general, election campaigns in general, deliberately plan out their cities because they're trying to win an election, right? So you can't argue that this was like, they just, spun the globe or put their finger on a map and we're like, that's where we're going to go. Let's check the calendar. This is a good day. Bam. And just randomly ended up in Tulsa, Oklahoma on June 19th. That's, pretty outrageous to me to think that that's what happened, because that's not how campaigns are run. But there are some people that want to be optimistic about it, and they don't want to believe that Donald Trump could be a racist or that Donald Trump would want to stir up tensions or make things worse. So they're like, maybe he is going there on purpose because he wants to reach out to those people and, do something optimistic. Have you listened to any of the speeches that he's given this entire time? he's just been like promoting violence against protesters this whole time. He had a little photo op where they literally gassed peaceful protesters. And there's, whoever wants to say, oh, they weren't being peaceful. Well, like top members of the military and the Undersecretary of the United States have come out and said that that's exactly what happened. So I don't know. I think I'm going to believe the top military officials and the Undersecretary over, I don't know, this random person on Facebook that tells me that, oh no, they were violent. So anyways, moral of the story, what do you think he's going to do? You think he's going to show up in Tulsa and talk about 1921 and send his condolences to the black community there and tell them that their lives matter and, I don't know, ask them to peacefully protest for police reform? Do you think he's going to do that? Do you think he even thinks we need police reform? I don't think that's going to happen. So anyways, that's the significance of Tulsa, Oklahoma and June 19th. And that's why I think it was deliberate. And if it wasn't deliberate, it was deliberate that they chose. Now, yeah, see, I can't even, I'm trying to make an argument for you that maybe it wasn't on purpose, that city and that date. But campaign elections don't just randomly pick dates in cities. But even if it were just a happenstance that they ended up in Tulsa, Oklahoma on June 19th, that just shows the disconnect between the administration that's running the United States of America right now and the black community. That would mean that they don't know black American history. And obviously there are going to be protests. There are already protests planned in Tulsa, Oklahoma for June 19th because it is such a significant city and date. So what do you think is going to happen with Black Lives Matter protests going on in that particular city on that particular date while a Trump rally is also going on? And keep in mind, I know y'all like to talk about how the Klan was invented by the Democrats, but y'all conveniently like to leave out that the Klan shows up to Trump rallies, not Biden rallies. So you're going to have a bunch of Klan members and closeted racists showing up to MAGA, and you're going to have Black Lives Matter protests. So anyways, end of rant. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.